to the Q&A session for today's webinar, which is Safer by Design, a spotlight on SSE Renewables Battery Energy Storage System Project at Ferrybridge. We're joined by Michael Bobby of SSE. Michael Bobby is the Safety, Health and Wellbeing CDM Advisor. We're going to jump straight into the questions. Michael, thank you ever so much for today already. So Christopher asks, did you gain any advice from other sectors, for example, oil and gas, in respect of shipping long lead items, shipping transport loads, quarantine and marshalling of equipment on site? Would external advice have been assistance in the project planning stage?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great question. And yes, we'll take advice from anywhere. And one of the things, which is, I'm going to use this word exciting again, is we are working with people from all over the world, and from different cultures, different ages, demographics, totally. And they think differently. Everybody thinks differently. I think, well, I know the biggest challenge is to A, is to challenge, and B, is to embrace. Some of the stuff that we get and ideas are absolutely, when you first hear them, you think, what? And then you think, oh no, hang on. So that's a fantastic question. The other interesting thing that's happened is the HSE. They're very involved. They're very interested. So Martin will vouch for this. Yeah, they're very interested in what we're doing. They want to work with us, and we're very open with them. They're engaged. Yeah. So and also people like fire authorities and things like that. You know what I mean? Working with us, because the industry is very much in its infancy, sort of thing, and it's one of the things that SSE is leading the way. We're leading the way in terms of fire strategy, but interestingly enough, we're working with HSE and also the fire authorities as well. So that's a great question.
Thank you so much, Christopher. It was a great question. Richard has just popped in the chat. Is anyone else's sound breaking up? Please just say yes or no real quick, because we can just double check that. We'll jump on to the next question though from Elspeth. Elspeth asks, were there any subterranean tunnels associated with the original cooling towers / power generation, for example, for cooling? And if so, how were they dealt with?
Good question. I can't give you an answer. If you want to email me, I'll get you the answer to that one. But yeah. I wasn't there at that point, but we can certainly find that out. The likelihood is probably yes, and it would probably been dealt very strictly in accordance with whatever regulations were made. But if my email address is there, pop me an email and I'll give you an answer to that one. Not a problem.
We'll add Michael's email to the follow up. Michael's email address to the follow up email that I send after each webinar, so everyone can contact Michael. Another question from Christopher, which is great. How was examination, maintenance, inspection, and testing of the steels and foundations under the BESS units included by the designers? They appeared to be hard to inspect once installed due to the limited crawl space. What design life is allowed for in respect of corrosion protection to the steels and the skids? Somebody
knows a lot about steels. What I can't. Everything is, I'll give you a generic answer. I can't give you a specific answer, but what I would say is everything is designed as per it should be. It's signed off and inspected. Yes, good point is you can't crawl underneath the steel or the concrete and all that. But being a former concrete technician, all the tests were done, slug tests and things like that. All that was done on site. Specifics of it I can't answer, but we could if you want to go down that avenue. But I think I know everything, the way we work, because everything is not left to chance. All the tests and all the certificates would be there, and personally from an environmental perspective, our environmental people were a lot happier going down that design than they were on the Salisbury one, where there were big massive concrete, what would you say,
wow.
Yeah, so we're moving on, and as time evolves, the less, what would you say, of those materials we can use on the site. As design evolves, we will go down that path, so to speak. As I say, we've got 20. When we've got the design, we're in those stages with other ones. Everything's evolving, but yeah, another great question.
They're always good from the APS lot. Gary has asked, have now worked on a couple of projects involving the demolition of old coal-fired power stations.
Whoa.
Despite undertaking a ground investigation survey and boreholes, there were random pockets of buried asbestos. Were there any such issues on this project? And if so, how did you overcome this?
Right. So that's one of my favorite things as a principal designer, and I've come across this is the pockets of asbestos usually buried in fields by somebody for, I'm not going to say it, but you know where I'm going with this. Yes. So all those initially desktop surveys are taken of UXOs. The other big problem we have, and I'll get to the answer, but I want to put this other stuff in because it is quite interesting, is archaeological works as well. We come across that as well quite a lot as well. So we carry out the archaeological survey. Interestingly enough, archaeological works, and everybody can check this right now if they want. Archaeological works don't come under CDM, they're still in the design stage. So I had problems on one or two projects, and the archaeologists turned around and said, oh no, we're not under CDM because we're at design. Some of them go under design, which I would much prefer, others don't. So desktop surveys, trial pits, bores, site investigations. Has it happened where we've come across asbestos that we haven't found in a site investigation? Yes. What do we do? The first thing is stop. What do we also check? Has everybody got an asbestos awareness course? Very aware of that type of thing from my old school days at North Lanarkshire Council when refurbishing a tower block. You check all the asbestos records and things like that, and you go with what you've got. But of course, there was the one flat that had it, and we didn't catch it. And what happened was stop awareness. I think it's, the strategy there is awareness as much as you can, and also make sure everybody's trained. Yes, great question. Great question. A problem, and B, like all PD CDMAs in this is go with what you've got, but make sure everybody's ideally has an asbestos awareness course before they do it.
Thank you so much. Natalie asks, how did you check that when passing the PD role, the appointed person / company is competent enough to fulfill the role?
A brilliant question. I love it. A brilliant question.
There's a part two. And
Go ahead.
We can do them separately. And as a client, what did you do throughout the duration of the project to ensure the PD and PC was abiding by their duties?
Right.
Should we do them separately?
No, let's go. Yeah, let's go. Great question. So what we do is, ideally, in an ideal world, and from experience with KOK Project 4 and North Lanarkshire and Ridge and all that, what happens is the PD role goes right the way through. But where we are just now and the way it works is it's handed over after gate 3 from the organisation. The LOA states, the letter of appointment states that SSE are the PD, but how we work it is my name's contact, project manager contact, and lead engineer is contact. They're just a contact. So the answer to the first part of the question, which is we carry out a rather stiff evaluation with a big, I can't remember, it's like SHE 009114 form process that has to go through. But I would say more importantly, and maybe I'm old school here, somebody can shoot me down in frames with this one, is I like to meet face-to-face. I like to go to one of their old sites. And the word is trust. The other word is confidence. And usually that, so A, there's a process, but B, we go on site, one of their sites, tell me where you've worked, or what are you working just now? Or where have you worked? And we do it like that. So that's how we do it. We do it like that.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you. Giovanni asks, when working in different countries, do you find much difference in the attitude of workers towards health and safety?
Somebody's put you up to this, Giovanni.
That's a good question, though. That is a good question.
Yeah, okay. Giovanni. Straight answer, yes. But we know where we are. We know what we need. We know what we need to stay in the law. and plus SSE are, oh my God, the culture for health, safety and welfare is immense, immense. I think the t-shirt is, if it's not safe, don't do it. And that's it. That is genuine about that. So yeah, sometimes it's a challenge to convey what we need because of the cultural challenge, the language barriers. And I'll give you an example. As PDs and CDMAs, we read a lot of documentation, and some of the documents are directly transferred from, let's just say, Spanish to English, and it doesn't read the same. So you've got to go back and over that sort of thing as well. I think the key where the answer to the question is work together, develop a relationship, and have the same objectives, and be patient. Sometimes it can be frustration. And the great example I gave earlier on, no matter how much you can plan, the Salisbury thing in terms of the delivery of the best units, the contractor was Finnish, I think, English, good English, but the people that, no, it wasn't, it was another job, but the other people were driving the trucks were not from Finland. They were, and they couldn't. There was a language barrier. So despite how much planning we had, when it came down to the nitty-gritty, simple thing that actually physically driving the trucks from the docks into the site, we had a problem.
Yeah, just as an off comment, at the last two conferences ago, we did a piece on the build back after the Turkish earthquake, and one of the main issues there was communication, because a lot of groups were coming together to try and find the best way to move forward. And, due to different legislation, different laws, different rules, it was a confusing mess, and they had to overcome the conversation. We're going to move into the next 5 questions. Hopefully we can finish shortly. Elspeth said, fans are the top of units, but work at measure considerations. Is anyone challenging the manufacturers of these units?
Challenge, yeah, we'll challenge anybody to anything if we don't think it's right. We've got, as I say, our engineers, our designers are, the way the industry is, certain countries are further down the track than we are. So we work with, a lot of my colleagues are Spanish, Greek, Australian, and they are further down the track in terms of experience and things like that. So they have that. So if, let's just say Tesla, or let's just say Fluence, or one of these come up with a design, we'll question it. You know what I mean? But yeah, we will question it. We will challenge it, but we will listen, and there'll be a middle ground. But if it's not safe, if we don't think it's safe, we'll not do it. We'll go to another manufacturer and all that sort of thing. But yeah, that's where we are with it, being very honest. We've got the experience. Yeah, we've got the experience in working with people all over the world, and our engineers are doing that. That's where Ricky is right now. Ricky, who should have been doing this presentation with me.
Yeah, just a reminder to everyone, this was a 2-man presentation, and then possibly a 3-man presentation, and instead Michael has done all 3 parts by himself, very last minute due to a broken microphone. But so, just a little round of applause for Michael, because it's been amazing. It's been really good. So we're just going to go into the last couple of questions. Christopher asks, if you're taking receipt of planted equipment from the US, for example, do the vendors understand UK HSE legislation and provide
what a fantastic question. What a fantastic
input and design, etc.
This is one of the things that gets brought up all the time. No, it was brought up about a year ago, because it was, I tell you, I'm sure these people must be spies for SSE. These are all questions that but where we are with this is, that's a brilliant question. And it's something that got really, how would you say, challenging, in that I had a question from one of our project managers who was bringing in stuff from Siemens into the country, and it was for a wind farm. And he asked about which laws would apply in terms of for the turbines. Now, from memory, I ended up with a whole load of lawyers and myself stating our case, and I actually can't remember how we got out of it, but the challenge was there. And I think it was in terms of responsibility of who would be responsible if something went wrong with this particular piece of kit. So, and they, I think it was Siemens, they were only supplying it and the actual PC was fitting it. So I think where we went with it was it went back. What I said was, after speaking to several lawyers and arguing with them, was if something went wrong with it, we would legally go back to the principal contractor, who in turn, what I imagine, would go back. If it was installed incorrectly, it would be the PC. But if it was a malfunction of the piece of kit, the PC would then go back to the manufacturer. A brilliant question, a live issue, and one that is continuing on the discussion with what is a multi-billion pound company, SSE. So brilliant question, yeah.
Thank you. Just a reminder, everyone, I know people tend to have to leave now. It's 1 o'clock. I completely understand. That's why we record the Q&A separately. So it's going to be on YouTube, so you can watch it back at your leisure. I'm going to close the questions there because we've got 5 now. So we're going to leave it at 5 questions. Sorry, everyone, but we're quite running over. So John asks, you mentioned confined spaces. As this has a particular definition, should it not be described as a restricted space working area?
Well, I know it as confined spaces. A restricted. I honestly don't know the difference in that. What I did know from a practical perspective, from a health and safety perspective, there was too many people working in confined space, and do you know what? It didn't matter what it was; it wasn't right. And the important thing was to make it right and manage it. And as far as I was concerned, with that particular. I was fulfilling my role as an advisor, as a PD, and say, right, hang on, we need to manage this better. Great point. I can't honestly know I don't know from the top of my head what the definition is. Great point. That'll be my takeaway from this one.
Every day's a school day. Every day's a school
Exactly.
day.
Thank you.
I thought we had more questions, but 2 of them were just people saying how infectiously brilliant you were. So we've actually got 3 questions, which is great. So John says, what is the criteria for locating cables near to trees from a future disturbance from root systems, etc.?
Oh, brilliant question. But I'll tell you what I did say to our engineer when he suggested that, I said, please contact the environmental department immediately before you do that, because I think, do you know what? And being very open and honest, is it's one of these things. Through all my time in doing this, I've been aware of the environmental people, but I've not worked closely with them enough. And I realised, and Martin and I had discussion last week as a result of something that we've come to that we need to work more closer with them. And I would say that to everybody, because there could be nothing worse than, what would you say, putting a welfare area in on a site, and then the environmental inspector comes and says, oh, you can't have it there. It's too close. Or, oh, there's a yellow beak, something. And I'm not being flippant or anything about it.
Yeah.
But my God, you know what I mean? You have to move. Yeah, you have to move you have to move this welfare, this TMP, that substation. That's too close to so if there's anything you take away from this today, take away the fact is start talking more to environmental people and be aware of what they're saying, what they need, because if you don't, it's a risk that we as health and safety PDs and CDMs, I don't think enough about, but the cost consequences could be immense down the line if you don't work with them.
No, we work with environmental health, and we've had some speakers from there before. It's fantastic sometimes, because you expect the Lorax or tree beard. It's just it was a guy called David who just said, can't do that. Okay, we've got the last 2 questions. Elspeth, Michael mentioned trees needing to be crossed by the project's HDD, horizontal directional drilling, for laying cables. Trees/hedges were picked up by an early environmental. Were the trees picked up by an early environmental survey and plan? Did anyone advise/check on their roots and requirements? I think you've just kind of touched on this, haven't you?
Yeah, yes, exactly. So we are aware of it. We are aware of it. And it's a fantastic point. It's just think about it when you're doing your PCI and you're doing your desktop evaluations for your asbestos and you're doing your unexploded ordnance, things and all that, just think of the environmental side as well, because A, if you miss it, B, cost consequences could be immense, and also the health and safety risk as well could be immense.
Thank you, Michael. Last question, and then we can leave it there. So Timothy says, Timothy works for a multinational company working on UK projects. This means that we have design teams in Paris, the UK, and Mumbai, etc. How do we demonstrate competencies of all the designers involved in the scope of the design? It's a big question.
That's a good question. We know where we are internally. Because obviously you get an interview when you join SSE, qualifications, experience, and things like that, and on the basis of that, you get a job. That goes for anywhere. Appointing externally and things like that, yes, a great question. So the vast majority of the projects at the moment are all UK. Martin, I know in terms of the compliance thing, we know what to look for in terms of experience, in terms of pieces of paper and things like that. A bridge we have to cross if we are working with foreign, let's call it non-local companies in terms of the validity of their pieces of paper. But one thing I do know is we will check, because if we don't and something happens, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good. Anyway, okay. I was going to, if that's the last question, I'm going to leave you with 3 useless facts.
Please.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay, here we go. So they all relate to Manchester United and our visit there, which was good. First fact is, Sir Alex Ferguson still visits the training ground. He still has a private car supplied by Manchester United. Anywhere he goes, he's picked up from his house and driven there. So he still pulls up at Carrington, unannounced. He doesn't need to go through the security. They just lift the barrier for him. Number 2, so Jim Radcliffe, how do the staff, playing staff and the manager know he's in the ground? He arrives by helicopter. Finally, this is the best one. I like this one. The facilities manager at Manchester United is a Scouser and a Liverpool fan. There you go. Fact.
There we go. What a way to end it. We're going to end it there.